Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ghosties. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Macy, and our episode today is very long-awaited by Natalie here. Sleep paralysis.
I don't know if I'd say long-awaited. I'd say
Anticipated,
nervous.
but terrified?
Yes.
Okay. Well, particularly sleep paralysis demons, because we're going to touch on sleep paralysis, but I like the emphasis on the spooky.
Really?
Because you wanted it a little scary.
Now I'm very scared because I have never seen a sleep paralysis demon, quote unquote.
Really?
No. And now I'm scared that I'm going to bring that to myself. I'm really scared now.
Want to tell us your story, or you want to wait a little bit?
I feel sick. No, let me hear your definitions and things. We also need to pour this tea. It's been sitting for a while.
Yeah, we've been talking for like 50 minutes.
It might taste a little bitter.
Probably. But before we get going, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead and drop a comment. Let us know if you've ever experienced sleep paralysis. We want to hear your stories. Did you see a sleep paralysis demon?
Yeah, and
an angel? What happened?
And a lot of you have, so leave the comment, please.
Let us know.
I want to know.
Our tea today is another tea from Republic of Tea called Pink Chai.
Ooh, I thought it was going to be like really pink, and I'm kind of sad, but
smells good at least.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's go. I like it.
That's a regular drinker for me.
Yeah, I would that doesn't feel like a special occasion tea like some of them do.
No, that's like it's a mild and like it has the spice, but it's mild, so it's something I could drink every day.
Yeah, like in the morning.
Day, honestly.
Yeah. I don't see if I was home, I could make tea.
Dude, I used to, when I work in office, I would bring my tea to the office. But I would bring my little cup. I'd have like a little thing that I could put my loose leaf tea in and put it in, pour my water, and then head to work. And by the time I got to work, I'd open it up and it was like perfectly steamy and perfect.
Cute.
And then I would bring extra little baggies of tea with me throughout the day if I needed a little pick-me-up. Because I can't drink coffee. It makes me jittery.
I don't drink any caffeine. Like I take pre-workout before the gym, but like, yeah.
I think there's probably more caffeine in your pre-workout than there is in a glass of tea.
Yes.
And this is also caffeine-free. So I think I told you that.
That's good. Yeah, I'm excited because I do not need caffeine this late.
Yeah, we were talking about this before we started recording. Every time we record, we record late at night. So it's like right now, it's 11:41. Jesus Christ. And we usually are drinking caffeinated tea with lots of sugar in it. Well, sometimes lots of sugar in it. And I go home and I'm just like, can't go to sleep. So I just like stay up and roam.
Yeah, me too. I don't roam, but I sloth.
But are you ready to get into your greatest fear?
I think so. And it's only a big fear because there is nothing more in this world that I value, besides my dogs, than sleep. Like,
if something's affecting that, it's like, there's nothing sacred.
That's my top priority daily. I'm a napper. I can nap any day, every day that I can, I do.
80% of the time, Natalie will be like, yeah, I'll come over or I'll do this with you. And then not a word from her for hours. And she's like, sorry, I fell asleep.
It's never on purpose. If I have like a huge commitment, I don't sleep through it. But it was just like casually today. I was like, oh, I'm going to come over and like hang out and da-da-da-da-da. And then she texts me at like, what, like 2 or 3? And then
I think it was 3.
I text back at like 6:30 and I was like, sorry.
Yeah. When she doesn't text back within like 30 minutes, I'm like, she's sleeping. So.
And I enjoy it.
But let's go. Night has fallen and it's time for your day to come to an end. You do everything in your routine as usual and nothing seems amiss. You've washed your face, brushed your teeth, and of course moisturized, hopefully with CeraVe. Then drifted softly and peacefully to sleep for a good night's rest. Suddenly, your eyes open wide. Your room is still in total darkness. It's the middle of the night, and you think at first you'll just get up to get a glass of water and head back to sleep. But that's when you begin to realize something is very wrong. Your eyes are looking around your room, but your body is incapable of moving, and no matter how hard you try to call out, no words will escape your throat. You try with all you have to lift a finger, but your entire body is still paralyzed. Then the sensation creeps over you that you're not alone in the darkness. You feel a presence looming over you, starting at the darkest corner of your room, slowly making its way closer and closer to your bed. You know you should run. You have the feeling of danger crushing your chest. Total panic begins to rise when you realize that it's not just the feeling of terror putting pressure on your lungs, but the dark and evil presence that you felt is upon you now. It is quite literally something from the lowest depths of your nightmares. The creature, or demon, or whatever has you stuck to your mattress, is indescribable and pushing down on your body, forcing the air out of your lungs, making it harder and harder to catch your breath. You know there is nothing you can do, and yet your body is still working hard to force itself out of its immobilized state. That's when you hear a sound coming from outside your door, seemingly down the hall. Both you and your captor look in that direction, and suddenly, as if it never happened, you're able to shoot up from your pillow and the presence is gone. Obviously shaken, you try to laugh it off as a dream or some other natural phenomenon. But as you get up to take a drink of water to calm your nerves, you know that what you just witnessed will stick with you, and you hope that what the sciences call sleep paralysis is all that you've just experienced.
Oh, my chest is heavy because
I wanted to get a start, like get you in the feel, get you in the mood.
I'm in it. I feel it. I was envisioning my room. I've never experienced seeing something.
Mm-hmm.
It's always my eyes are like stuck closed, like I can't open them. That is like the scariest feeling. I hate it. And like I consciously know what's happening. It's never like I'm like, oh, and like I'm panicking, but like I try to move. I can't breathe. Like my chest is heavy. Like that's my main thing, not being able to breathe.
Yeah.
Freaks me out so bad. In my mind, like I'll have my eyes closed and I know I'm like, oh, this is gonna pass. Like it's gonna pass. It'll go away. And then eventually I'm like, and I can catch my breath, but like, no, I'm scared I'm gonna see something.
I want to say you won't, but I don't know.
I'm really scared because I don't know what I would do. I don't know what
There's
I would do.
nothing you can do.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but like,
I know what you would do.
like I've seen all the people like, this is my sleep paralysis demon. It's always like a funny picture. It's like Poot Lovato or something, like something stupid. Yeah. But like, I'm always just like, hee hee ha ha. But like, people really see that stuff?
They do.
I'm scared.
So sleep paralysis, for those who don't know and didn't get the gist of it and what I just said, is the sensation either upon just starting to fall asleep or just beginning to wake up from your sleep of being conscious and aware of your surroundings, but not being able to move or speak. Oftentimes, people will see an intruder of some kind, someone or something that just doesn't belong in their home. There is also usually an immense amount of fear at having hearing and or seeing this entity in their home and not being able to run or yell or do anything about it. Many people will get a heavy feeling in their chest as if something is pressing against them and making it hard to breathe, and you can see why that is frightening. I've never experienced it, but I totally get it. I
can't breathe right now. You've never had sleep paralysis?
No.
Ever?
No. But I don't really have any issues with sleep.
What is it like to know peace? My God.
But now I'm afraid that I will after reading all this.
I can't breathe right now. Since you started talking, my chest is heavy.
Me too. I kind of got a little worked up. But anyway, like many of the things we discuss here, the entities creeping up on you in the night while you're completely immobilized have been a topic of discussion for centuries.
Of course.
For all of time. The sensation is known in all parts of the world and has a different interpretation depending on where you go and who you talk to. Many cultures refer to a supernatural element to these experiences, being the cause of terror that most people feel when in an episode of sleep paralysis. In China, Vietnam, Thailand, and several other areas of the world, it has been thought of as a spirit or a ghost of some kind or another that presses on you at night. The spirit can be there for many reasons, be that as revenge against you by a third party, like casting revenge on you, or the ghost has passed in a tragic way and is just still there and just, I don't know,
angry,
causes you terror in the night. Then, of course, there are those in history who believe that it was some kind of evil spirit or demon. We've talked about this in one of our previous episodes. I think it was the Halloween bonus episode, our little tea party episode. But in Brazil, there is a legend about a being called La Pisadera.
Oh, yeah.
Forgive me. I'm just going to say that every time I try to pronounce something in a different language. Just forgive me, okay? She is a tall, skinny woman with long, dirty nails and white, tangled hair who lurks in the darkness atop people's roofs searching for her next victim. Just the thought of her crouching out on roofs at night. I don't like it.
Nope.
When she finds a person who's fallen asleep on their back with a full stomach, she'll climb down and make her way into their home to step on their chests, coming face to face with them and suffocating her prey.
I just told you
I know
that it only happens to me when I'm laying flat on my back.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
I can't breathe.
There are also the incubus and succubus demons, but we won't dive too much into that because that's a whole other realm that
no thanks.
Is not safe for the pod.
It's okay.
The jinn in Egypt and other parts of the world, the kanashabari in Japan, and the Karabasan in Turkey are some names the terrifying sleep paralysis entities are known as around the world. There are some who believe that people who have claimed to have been abducted by aliens in their bed have actually been experiencing sleep paralysis.
Which I could see that.
It kind of makes sense with some of the stories that I've read. It like aligns with some of the abduction stories. Not all of them.
No.
Not all of them,
I mean, I believe some people have experienced alien encounters, and I'd like to dig into that a little bit if y'all want to hear about it.
Yeah, let us know.
But yeah, I could see that being a possibility. Like someone has like intense sleep paralysis and they're like, it has to be this because they need an explanation. So that makes sense to me.
Another theory in history as to what could be causing this terrifying phenomena is witchcraft. Many cultures, particularly in the West, believed that witches were to blame for the sudden paralysis and spirits appearing in the bedroom late at night. There was a belief in an old hag or hag riding in Newfoundland and many of the states in the U.S. The hag would ride your chest at night, keeping you from breathing and attempting to harm you, and in the best cases, keep you from getting a good night's sleep and slowly drive you mad.
I don't like that.
She could appear to you by her own volition via astral projection, or be summoned upon you by a third party wishing to curse you. And the only way to get rid of her, some say, is to say the Lord's Prayer backwards. If you read The Crucible, or know anything about Salem witch trials, then you know that many of the accusers claim to have been visited by the witch at night, and maybe they were just experiencing sleep paralysis and blaming it on the town witch. I found that very interesting. There were a few articles talking about that.
Yeah, I feel like that, like in the olden times, like anything that, what?
I don't know. It's cute. You always call it the olden times.
Well, what do you want me to say? Back in their day, like
no, I just said I think it's cute.
Anyways, back then, I feel like everything, like they didn't understand a lot, so it was always just like, she's a witch. It's always that, and that drives me crazy because I want to know like how many simple things that we know now, like.
See, you said this last episode, and I've been thinking about it, and I think the answer is what we think we know now, but they're gonna look back at us and laugh. Anything to do with space.
Oh yeah,
I think we're like making all these theories and assumptions now about space. I think a couple hundred years from now, they're gonna be like, simpletons.
That's crazy.
But here are a couple of stories. I've, as usual, sprinkled a few stories throughout.
My chest is heavy. I don't feel good.
In the Balkans, the story goes that witches are the ones who are riding you in this condition. Those who normally live among us, but who have learned some skills, leave their bodies to visit people during the night and drain energy from them. Normally, I would, and did, laugh at these stories, and paralysis itself, because I don't really believe in the paranormal. However, there is a reason for the term normally in that sentence. I had it once when I was a student. I would believe in an official medical explanation of these sleep paralysis experiences if it wasn't happening to my roommates at the same time. As we went to sleep at about the same time, I could hear them breathing normally until it started. At the same time, my roommates' breathing became erratic. I was overwhelmed with the feeling of paralyzed fear in someone's presence. I tried to turn my head in order to reassure myself and realized that I couldn't. I don't know how long this lasted, but then I heard one of my roommates choking. I managed to turn my head with great difficulty, and then I saw my boogeyman. He had a black trench coat and a raised collar with a black wide-brimmed hat, like those from the 40s and 50s detective movies. Only part of his face was visible. It looked grotesque, and it was cackling. It was sitting on the corner of my bed and was laughing at my efforts to move. The more effort I gave, the harder it laughed. I managed to push with anger against my fear and started to push myself against the bed. It stopped laughing and looked at me with fear in its eyes. Then it disappeared. In that moment, I could move again and my fear was gone. At the same time, my roommates started to breathe normally again. I rolled over and stayed awake in that position for a couple of hours, fearing that it might come back. In my skepticism, I convinced myself it didn't happen, and it was probably just a dream. That is, until I talked about it with my roommates in the morning, and they both went pale. They had the same experience, and one was really choking because he was seeing some hag trying to strangle him. I had never had an experience like that again.
But they saw different
entities, but they all experienced it at the same time.
Why?
I don't know. I did not find an explanation for this, like a paranormal explanation for what a shared sleep paralysis. And the only explanation I have is evil spirits of some kind, like a demonic attack or spiritual attack.
At the same time, I imagine that old lady from Drag Me to Hell on.
Oh my god, that's like one of your nightmares, isn't it?
Like the first time I ever felt like true terror, like in that theater.
That is a core memory of yours.
It is, because like I don't remember anything about the movie, but what that lady's face looked like. And when you say old hag like choking him, I just see that.
So in many Western cultures, with which we are obviously more familiar, it is a supernatural assault brought on by shadow people. And some even say it's a hooded figure known as The Hat Man.
Shut up. I knew. Whatever I was gonna say when
With
you
the brimmed
said
hat?
when you said the hat, I was gonna be like, it's the Hat Man, which I
had to
don't.
throw him in.
I've never met the Hat Man. I've never experienced that man, and I don't want to. I'm scared. Okay.
Natalie made me aware of the Hat Man, and I'm really glad that she did. Because essentially, since the late 2000s, people have been discussing in an online forum their own horrifying experiences with the so-called Hat Man. He's exactly as he sounds, a dark silhouette of a man wearing a wide-brimmed hat of some kind. Some claim to be a top hat, some say it's more akin to like an old Western kind of hat. But it's just got a wide, flat brim. He will appear in your room after you've woken up and just stands there menacingly, watching you while you struggle to breathe and pull yourself out of paralysis. He's a shadow that is darker than night, and though you can't see any features, you can still feel his intentions are just not good. There are some who believe that the Hat Man is our subconscious reworking figures like Freddy Krueger, who also wears a hat, just appears in our dreams to make sure you never wake up again. Like after seeing things like the Nightmare on Elm Street, we project that a little bit.
Yeah, but what if you've never seen the Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah.
There are people like nowadays that probably haven't.
Yeah, because the Hat Man has been sighted in places all over the world of all cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it very hard to believe that everyone in the world had seen Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, no.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe most of the people have seen glimpses of Freddy Krueger.
Well, like in
but
Halloween
not the whole
stuff.
gist of
Yeah.
it, knowing that he appears in your dreams
Which is
scary.
scary.
That movie messed me
Me
up.
too. Mom let me watch it. I was like 6.
We watched it together.
So you were like, what?
8, 9? 9, yeah.
Scary.
In 2008, a man named Timothy Brown Jr. started a blog called The Hat Man Project, where he told his story of his first encounter with this entity in his teens in the 90s. So he had a terrifying experience with the Hat Man in the 90s, grew up a little and was like, I cannot be the only one, and went to the internet like, please tell me I'm not the only one. He is not the only one. Now it's a place where people from all over the world submit their own stories and experiences so that people can come together and kind of discuss what this could mean.
And that makes it, I mean, yes, it's like validating and you feel like, oh, I'm not alone, but you're not alone.
But also, it's
The
like
Hat
maybe
Man's
I'd rather
real.
it be in my head, yeah.
Yeah.
Many equate the sighting of the Hat Man with the use of products like Benadryl, like you said, but there have been people who see him in their sleep paralysis nightmares who hadn't come anywhere near the medication. Some theories suggest that he is just a shadow person there to observe, while others believe in something much darker. He could be a dark entity that feeds off of your fear and grows stronger with your strong negative emotions, though his motives for gaining more power with your terror are unbeknownst to us. There have been many claims of people waking from their encounters with the Hat Man with scratches and marks on their bodies even. There's no explanation for these. So could he be a silent observer? Could he be the devil himself? We don't know.
I hope not.
But here are a couple of stories from people who've experienced the Hat Man. I've only seen it once, but we have no name for it. I'm from China, where we have a rich culture of the unknown, but this is something different. Someone said that it might have been a hallucination or imagination after watching horror movies like Nightmare on Elm Street or something else, but it was very real and solid, so I don't think that's what it was. It happened when I was 6 or 7 years old. I remember that night the moon was so bright that I could see things clearly with lights off. I couldn't sleep that night, so I just laid there. The door of my room was facing the door of the bathroom, and between them is a long hallway. I remember seeing a tall man with a wide-brimmed black hat and long black coat that came from the living room wall on the right side. At first, I didn't feel scared, so I looked straight at him, but he didn't seem to realize that I was awake. I couldn't see his face. He was like a silhouette. He stood in the bathroom in front of the mirror for a while like he was looking for something, and walked straight to the left hallway towards my parents' bedroom. I thought I heard my mom whimper, but I'm not sure. I laid there quietly to see if it came back, but it didn't, and I went back to sleep. The next morning, I talked to my mother about it, but she brushed me off like she didn't want to talk about it and just said that I was dreaming. Now I'm 20 and have never forgotten about this. A few days before I found this website, I talked to my mother once again about it. She finally admitted that actually, she had a nightmare that night. In her dream, there was a killer who was killing lots of people, but no one could catch him because they couldn't see his face. She felt he was looking for her, so she got up out of bed in her dream and hid behind the bedroom door. Suddenly, he found her and cut her neck with a machete and killed her.
Oh my God.
She said she then woke up from the nightmare with a cold neck and it was sore. It took a few days to go away. She was so scared about it, she didn't want to scare me more when I asked her about it, as I was a child, so she lied. But even after all these years, I always believed that what I saw was not a ghost. It was the Hat Man. I looked straight at it for at least a minute, so I cannot be wrong.
I hate that a lot.
I hate that he entered her dream.
I know. That scares me really bad.
Okay, so I just thought, like, what if he is always lurking in the shadows
Shut
and,
up.
like, looking for dreams? And that's why he's staring at you, like, trying to determine whether or not you're awake?
I don't like it.
That's creepy.
I don't like that at all. That's really scary.
Here's another story of the Hat Man seen by several people.
I can't breathe.
I was 16, possibly 17, and living at home. I grew up in this house. It was a new structure. My parents designed and built it themselves before I was born. It sat at the edge of the woods off of a small, quiet street in a rural part of Middle Tennessee. My bedroom was on the house's second floor and at the end of a long hallway directly across from my parents' room. The wall closet to the foot of my bed had a large window covered in metal blinds that let in a little bit of street light. Other than that and the red numbers from my digital alarm clock, my room was dark. I liked it that way. Sleep is my friend. I love it and need a lot of it. It's rare that I have trouble falling off into dreamland. And usually, as long as I'm horizontal, it's easy to find slumber. However, this particular night in 1998 was different. For some reason, that night, I could not go to sleep. I remember being extremely tired when I went to bed, but it never happened. This might have been the first time I had insomnia. I tried all the tricks, hundreds of sheep, breathing exercises, and my favorite, the make your eyes tired by staring at a point for as long as you can game, which my dad had taught me.
Never heard of that.
Me neither, but maybe it works. I don't know. The point I had picked to stare at was a tiny part of the window at the foot of my bed where light was getting through the heavy blinds. It was coming on 4 a.m. and I was praying that I could at least get a few hours of sleep. Out of nowhere, a figure appeared at the foot of my bed. It wasn't as if he just popped into existence or dissolved into being in my room. I didn't see him walk in or float in from a wall or a window. I must have blinked or looked away for a moment, but now he was there. He was directly in front of my window I had been staring at. His black silhouette contrasted with the striped horizontal light leaks of the metal blinds. I distinctly recall that he was wearing what I used to call a pilgrim hat and a cloak. The hat wasn't too tall, but had a large, flat, evenly round brim. He was tall and stood very still, with dominion. Up to this point, what I've described is similar to all the other accounts I've read, but here's where my story gets interesting. I was lying on my back, arms to my side, eyes wide open. I was very awake, aware. I could not take my eyes off this man, obviously terrified, petrified. I was too scared to scream, too scared to move. Upon further research, I'm positive that I was experiencing sleep paralysis, but it felt like the man controlled that part of me. I remember thinking that this could not be happening. My goal was to try to simply disappear. I thought he would leave me alone if I didn't move. If you're getting attacked by a bear, play dead, right?
Sure.
Well, he was no bear, and he could very much see me, and I felt very much alive. My eyes were glued to the man's face. I was trying to make out as many details of a human face as possible. I guess I wanted a description to give the police when they were filling out a breaking and entering report. The harder I looked, the more I could make out his eye. One normalish eye. It wasn't red or all black or anything like that. It is possible that he had two eyes, but all I could see, or all he allowed me to see, was one eye, his right eye. At first, the eye was hard to see. Blurry. As his eye became more focused, I realized that my body was moving closer to him. I realized that I was lifting out of bed towards him, like a telephone bowl being raised upright into position, feet still on my bed. The closer I came to him, the more detail I could make out of his eye. It was wild and kinetic. His eye was rolling, fluttering back and forth in his head really fast. When I thought I couldn't take it anymore, I felt myself lowering back into bed. In bed again, I rolled over to my left side in the fetal position and got all the way under the bed covers again, hoping again to disappear. I fell asleep like that with the feeling that he was still in the room. The next day, I told my dad about my experience, and he must have thought I was crazy. He had never seen the Hat Man. A few years ago around Christmas, I was visiting my mom. We were sitting at the dinner table eating a nice home-cooked meal. She lives in a new house now. We moved out of my childhood home after my dad passed away in 2003. Somehow, the Hat Man story came up, and I realized I had never told her about my experience. Just when I got to the part of the story where I explained what the Hat Man looked like, she stopped me. That's the old man that used to live in our closet. According to her, her childhood house was haunted, and the ghost lived in the closet of her and her sister's room. Cold chills washed over my body when she told me.
A generational terror?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like her and her sister had seen it, and now her son had seen it.
Didn't you see a man with a hat?
Yes.
In the school bathroom?
Yes, but I was nowhere near sleep. It was more like a bowler hat. Like,
well, what is
the Hat Man
hat?
It's like an old Western hat.
Okay, so
like
kind of fedora-esque.
Fedora-esque, but more
brimmed.
More threatening.
I don't know. Fedoras are pretty threatening.
I don't think I saw the Hat Man, though. It was different.
You just saw a man in a hat.
I saw a man, a shadow man in a hat, like a bowler hat and a suit. Though I don't know why I knew it was a suit, because he had no features. It was just like shadow. But I could just tell it was like a Great Depression era man in a suit in a bowler hat.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, I like zipped out of the bathroom real fast and literally ran down the hall back to my classroom.
Why is he in the girls' bathroom? That's scary.
Hanging out? I don't know. Yeah, it's creepy.
That's really scary.
But moving on, what does science say about sleep paralysis?
I hope something good. I hope it's a good explanation.
It is defined as the temporary loss of muscle control, also known as atonia, and the loss of the ability to speak just after falling asleep or before waking up. It is believed that up to as many as 20% of people have experienced sleep paralysis, though I saw some numbers saying it was closer to like 8 of the general population and like 35% of the population of people with like anxiety disorders.
So I was say what?
It varies. But a number I saw frequently was around 20%, like 1 out of 5 people have experienced it at least once or twice in their lives. And up to 75% of those people say it included some kind of hallucination or feeling of suffocation. There are 3 types of hallucinations that can be experienced. There's the intruder hallucination, which, like the Hat Man, is essentially the perception of a dangerous person or presence in your home or room. People can experience anything from a demonic entity to someone they believe is breaking into their home. So like a real person might be breaking in. Then there is the incubus hallucination, which is the feeling of someone or something sitting on your chest and having and making it harder for you to breathe. And then lastly, there is the vestibular motor hallucination, or an out-of-body experience. Most people who have an OBE can move their spirit self while they can see their like body
that's
still left in their bed. And this is similar to what I've heard people describe as like astral projection of some kind, or like lucid dreaming sometimes. So the hallucinations are believed to be caused by a dual consciousness where you're caught between sleep and wakefulness. This is what the sleep scientists say. Your mind is awake, but your brain thinks that you are still asleep, so it treats it so. It is a REM, or rapid eye movement parasomnia. And many of the things experienced during a sleep paralysis episode are thought to be because you are still experiencing portions of REM sleep cycle.
Okay.
So the REM sleep cycle is where most of our vivid dreams occur and is almost always accompanied by atonia, which is the loss of muscle control. It's so that you don't act out your dreams. Like when you're having really vivid dreams, you don't get up and like go get your car or something. Like your body is paralyzed so that your mind can act out these situations.
That's cool, but like we do move in our sleep.
But it's not like we're like, if we're pouring a coffee in our sleep, we're like in our beds, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
It usually goes away as we wake up, but when our brain is still thinks we're sleeping, and then the atonia stays, and some of the mental imagery creates a kind of augmented reality for us. And unfortunately,
I'm cool with that explanation. We can stop there. I don't want anything else. That's the explanation I'm going to accept. That sounds good to me.
I mean, I don't know that I believe it, but we'll finish this episode and we can give our final thoughts.
That's fine. That one's good.
Okay. Though the sleep paralysis episode can feel like it's lasting forever, most only last anywhere from a few seconds to 20 minutes, which usually on average, I think it's like 6 minutes is the longest. Yeah, some people have episodes of up to 20 minutes of sleep paralysis. That sounds frightening.
That's really scary. I don't want to say like, I've never experienced that, because I don't want to, and I don't want to put it out there and make it happen to myself, but I've only experienced like maybe 30 seconds, like maybe.
So there are 3 types of sleep paralysis. You can have isolated sleep paralysis, which is just a one-off episode here and there that isn't connected to any underlying diagnosis like narcolepsy. Then there is recurrent sleep paralysis, which involves multiple episodes over time and is associated with narcolepsy. And lastly, there is recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, or RISP, which is a combination of the two. You have multiple episodes of sleep paralysis over time, but you don't have narcolepsy. So that one's the really unfortunate kind, which I guess having narcolepsy is really unfortunate too. But anyway, here's a couple of stories for you. I was lying in bed at night when I realized my body was rigidly locked into place. It was uncomfortable. I tried moving around, but then my body started rising off the bed, just a few inches. A terrifying sensation. That woke me up. Such a relief. It was just a weird dream. Suddenly, I was rigid again, and there was an eerie green glow outside my window. And then I woke up. That was disturbing. I'd somehow been dreaming again, with no recollection of having fallen back asleep. Suddenly, I was even more rigidly locked up than before, floating so far off the bed I was almost at the ceiling, and the eerie green glow was brighter than before. I panicked, and I woke up. This time I was actually awake. Sleep paralysis within sleep paralysis within sleep paralysis. Dreaming of being exactly where I was in my own bed at night, within the same dream within the same dream. That is some alien abduction.
Inception.
Inception, yeah.
I've had dreams where I'm just like doing like mundane things around the house, or like I'm exactly there, and then I wake up and like, oh yeah, I actually need to do that. Like that's happened to me, but I've never had to like, oh, I woke up.
That's scary.
I would never trust that I was actually like living
literally
life again.
Inception. I'd need like one of my, like a little top, like a spin.
That's so
for
scary.
my chess piece.
That's a good movie. I haven't watched that in a long time.
It's one of I bought 3 movies on my iPad or iPod when I was younger. Inception, Baby Mama, and the SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
I was about to say, I had Baby Mama on my iPad, but because I would watch that before bed.
I bought that. You're welcome.
Thank you. You're like 13.
I have a range of interests, if you can't tell. This one I put in for you. It happened when I was about 12 years old, and I was obsessed with Justin Bieber. So much so that I had a poster of him next to my bed. At the time, I fell asleep, sleeping sideways on my bed so that I was facing my mirror and I could see the poster next to me. I woke up not being able to move, and instead of seeing my Justin Bieber poster, I saw a mangled, decaying man sitting on the edge of my bed staring at me.
Oh my God.
I was so scared, and all I could do was close my eyes and hope that it went away. I took the poster down after that night.
What? I don't think the poster had anything to do with it. That's so strange.
Could you imagine waking up and expecting to see your beloved Justin and seeing instead that creature?
That's so horrifying. What do you even...
I felt like that one would hit home for you because you were also young in that house with Justin Bieber posters, and
a lot of them.
It was a little scary.
Every J14 full page.
I'm pretty sure there were several times where I was like, maybe you should dial it back. Maybe you should take a couple down.
Hey, it beats the Corbin Blue poster that I had on top of the bunk bed because I was on the lower bunk. Do you remember that?
I forgot about that.
I love Corbin Blue. Everybody was a Zac Efron girl. I was a Corbin Blue girl.
But moving on, nobody knows the true cause of sleep paralysis. Not definitively anyway. There hasn't been anything narrowed down for what can trigger an episode. And I mentioned before that there is a link to narcolepsy, which can alter the function of the neurotransmitters in the brain and cause complications during REM sleep. There's also a connection, sort of, to sleep paralysis and other sleep disorders, such as obstructive sleep apnea or chronic insomnia. Some other people may get that if they have these other sleep conditions. And there have been links to people with certain mental health conditions as well. People with PTSD and anxiety disorders are more likely to experience sleep paralysis, as are those who take antidepressants or drink heavily. And even some connections to possible like larger amounts of caffeine later in the evening.
See, but that, like, all that is like, it makes sense. There's like an outside factor, and I'm cool with that. Like if those like scientific explanations are why, and it's like, okay, yeah. But what about the people that are none of that, that do none of that?
Interestingly, studies have found a higher risk in people with a family history of sleep paralysis, though no specific genetic basis has ever been identified.
I don't like that.
People who sleep on their backs are more likely to get sleep paralysis. And also disturbances to your sleep, like jet lag or shift work, can be a contributing factor. So when you were talking about rather working at night and sleeping in the day, the shift work like that, like at overnights, can cause sleep paralysis because it's a disturbance to your sleep and your circadian rhythm.
But I'm up all night anyway.
Yeah. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why you have it. There are also many theories as to why the scary hallucinations, but again, nobody truly knows the exact cause. Could be a malfunction in serotonin release in the receptors. So it's believed that sometimes the serotonin will just flood your brain and cause these hallucinations when you're already waking up and you're still kind of in that REM state. And it's kind of similar to what the serotonin and other hormones do when you're on psychedelics.
Oh.
Some believe that it's caused by a cycle of fear and panic that starts with the realization that you cannot move and your body is triggering some kind of fight or flight response and builds upon itself from there.
I could see that.
Yeah, where you wake up and you're like, I can't move, can't breathe, I can't move, I can't breathe. And then suddenly, like, it's kind of filling in. There's also a theory that we discussed in our Guardian Angels episode where the temporal parietal junction in your brain is somehow triggered, causing the feeling of a presence in the room with you. It messes with your sense of self, and you can't like form that general like oneness. Yeah. And you kind of project something else out there.
That makes me uneasy.
And your brain could also just be filling in the gaps when it doesn't have all the information. So your breathing is slowed down because your body still thinks you're sleeping. Therefore, you perceive the slowing as suffocation. And your brain thinks that the lack of in the ability to move and the trouble breathing must mean that there's somebody there to cause it.
Okay.
And so it's just like, well, if someone's here to cause it, then there must be a ghost, or there must be a demon or an intruder of some kind.
Yeah. Okay, I thought this was gonna scare me really bad. It's actually making me feel better because you're giving me explanations.
The thing that doesn't make me feel better is none of this is proven. It's all just people saying, well, maybe.
No.
Okay, sorry.
This is
in
fact.
Natalie world, it will be proven.
Yep. I'm adopting this fact into my brain.
Here are another couple of stories. Mr. Ishida, a chief mechanic at an Air Force base in Japan, was sleeping one night in July of 1961 when he began to experience an episode of sleep paralysis. He realized he couldn't move his arms, and there was so much pressure on his chest when a ghostly figure wearing a sailor uniform abruptly appeared in his room with him. The sailor told Ishida that he had been killed when he was caught in a spinning airplane propeller. The episode didn't last long, and when Ishida was finally able to lift his fingers, he realized the spirit he saw was no longer there and brushed it off as some kind of strange dream. Still curious, Ishida went about his duties as normal but decided to look into the history of the base for any sailors succumbing in a way such as described by the ghostly visitor. He learned later that there, in fact, had been a soldier during World War II who had had an unfortunate accident at the base just in the manner that was described to him in his sleep.
Okay, so that one doesn't freak me out as bad because there's an explanation. It was just a little ghostly visitor saying, hey, I died this way. I mean,
see, in my mind though, the connection, like if that was a ghostly visitor and that is something that is, I don't know, proven in some way, then who's to say that the other creepy creatures and demons aren't also?
Because I'm choosing
visitors.
peace.
Okay.
And that is an isolated incident.
This one isn't very peaceful. This person explained how they had several experiences with sleep paralysis and then goes on to say, in a not-so-recent episode, I woke in the middle of the night, unable to move, and saw a tall, slender figure enter my room. So far, it was an occurrence I'm familiar with, as I have had sleep paralysis on a semi-monthly basis. But this time, I watched as the figure crawled into the big spoon position with me in my bed, got uncomfortably close to my ear, and whispered, "Go back to sleep." Then I jolted awake, no sign of anyone in my room.
I'm gonna throw up.
I hated that one.
I'm gonna throw up. The other day, when I don't even remember what the pod was about, but when you said like, hey Brandon, or whatever story that was, Ryan left for work in the morning. He leaves at the dark. I'm laying there. The TV had been turned off because I sleep with the TV on because I can't sleep with complete darkness. I watch Family Guy every night to go to bed. In my mind, I was like, someone's about to say, hey. I got
jolted up and left your room.
I got so scared. I was like, where's the remote? I had to turn the TV back on, and I just laid there like, oh God.
That's terrifying. Yeah. I think what really gets me about the sleep paralysis stuff is you are so vulnerable in your sleep.
That's my most treasured
and things
time.
Overnight, and maybe that's why I'm mostly scared at night, because the night equals vulnerability to me, and I hate that.
Yeah, I could see that.
I hate that.
I don't.
But let's get back into some more explanations before I get into more stories for you.
The story was horrible, by the way.
I know. I told you it was not peaceful. So, can you stop yourself from experiencing sleep paralysis?
Yes.
Unfortunately, for you and all of those out there afraid of experiencing sleep paralysis, there isn't much you can do to completely avoid an event. The best thing you can do to attempt to avoid sleep paralysis is to work on your sleep hygiene and curb substance use in the evenings.
I mean, that could make sense because I'm not much of a, I always shower. I always wash my face. I always brush my teeth. I always do all that stuff.
Have a little routine.
I do, but I never, all right, it's bedtime, crawl into bed. I just fall asleep wherever, and I just make sure my phone alarm is on. So I sleep on the couch a lot. I sleep in the bed, wherever I'm at, I'm just going to fall asleep. So that makes sense.
Maybe you should work on that.
But sometimes I can avoid it though, because if I'm actively falling asleep, it's mostly usually on the couch and stuff. I can feel myself falling into sleep. I'll try to move and I'm like, oh, I can't move. And I'm like, I gotta wake up, and I can wake myself up, and then I can just adjust
before
and
you get too far into it.
Yeah, I can adjust and then either not go to sleep because I'm too freaked out to go, and usually it's a nap. It's not bedtime.
Yeah.
Or I can adjust myself to a completely different position, and then I can fall asleep peacefully. So I can avoid it sometimes.
So what do you do if you're in the middle of a sleep paralysis episode?
Pray.
Yes. Yes, exactly. If you're in the middle of a sleep paralysis episode, you really just have to wait it out. And you have to let it run its course, basically, and hope for the best. The only way to get out of it is to either be interrupted by somebody else, by sound or by touch. You can, if someone comes and wake you up, an alarm clock or anything like that too can jolt you out of sleep paralysis because it wakes your body up. Or some people claim to be able to just really focus hard on moving one part of the body, just like a
Like
pinky.
a finger?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that can, if they focus really hard, it'll just break the spell for them.
Yeah, that's what I do.
You can also attempt to lucid dream if you dare. Some people say that is a more pleasant experience. If you realize that you're sleeping, you're like, oh, okay, and you just like get up and...
I'm too afraid to do
Okay.
that.
Here's a couple more creepy stories. I heard some kind of whisper very close to my ear. It was really fast-paced and gibberish. When I opened my eyes to find out what was going on, what I saw was an old woman hovering face to face about 1 inch away. She had a pale face, black lip, and 2 very, very deep black eyes. I'm not even sure if she had eyes, in fact. I think these were just eye sockets. After what felt like an eternity of panic, I woke up. I didn't sleep again that night.
Oh my god.
So that
That's
was
sick.
like a witch casting some kind of curse on them.
That's really...
In my mind, anyway.
I don't want to hear anything.
No, the auditory hallucinations really get me too.
That's really scary.
I was sleeping by myself in my grandparents' basement during a holiday. I woke up in the middle of the night to some little girl's voice saying my name over and over, saying, "Where are you?" Then I can hear her slowly walking down the stairs. It was a really old house, so I heard it creaking each time, step by step, and the voice was getting louder and louder. Then I saw her silhouette standing in the doorway. She was a super skinny little girl with long, messy hair. She just stood there and stared at me for what felt like forever. I was trying to do anything I could to get up or yell for someone, but I couldn't move, and I thought it was just from being so scared. Finally, she lunged at me, and right before she got me, I woke up.
I had to put my feet up. That just scared me so bad. I don't like that. Kids, we already know. Why did she lunge?
I don't know.
Like
I
that.
just picture her standing there
Okay,
in complete stillness
We don't have
and
to
then
talk about
just attack. So final thoughts. Imagination or something much darker?
I want
What you hope versus what you really think.
I want it to be our brains just playing tricks on us because we're fearful, and it's the sleep thing and all those science things that you just said. Yes.
I believe that our brain does all those things. Like the sleep study people. I believe it. I mean, you do this for a living, sure. But here's where I kind of, and maybe it's just because I'm a little woo-woo. Is our vulnerable state just our brains projecting our dreams and fears like AR? Or is it our vulnerable state allowing us to see beyond the veil and kind of giving us sight into the spirit realm and seeing what's around us?
No.
Okay.
I can't accept
You can't
that.
accept it. Okay.
No,
Well, I
mean-
know. I'm kind of in the middle.
probably.
I believe that maybe some of it is like a half dream hallucination, but there are some people who are like big into science, like believe scientific explanations and say this was something else.
Listen.
They wake up and they're like, yeah, no, I've had like the lucid dream. I've had the like in between state before. This was not it. This was me totally and utterly aware. Not even a half sleep, not even a like I'm awake but I'm not really awake kind of thing, you know?
No, they're
like
awake.
I am awake. I am like locked in syndrome, looking around, can't move a muscle, and there is something there.
Yes.
Something threatening there.
But okay, I want to believe the scientific and it's all just in our heads and we're all just, we just don't know yet. But why are we all seeing the Hat Man?
Exactly.
that?
The
You're
shared
seeing-
experiences.
That's what makes it weird. Because like if everybody was seeing something different, like, like in Harry Potter, like when they all see their different
Like the
fears.
boggart, yeah.
Yeah, that would be like a good explanation. Be like, oh my God, yeah, like we're just seeing what freaks us out. But why are all these people seeing the same thing? That's where it gets kind of like, there has to be like a little,
Some kind of element of
yes.
a sprinkle of the paranormal.
Yeah, but I just don't want that to be it.
Yeah.
So I'm going with science. That's what I'm sticking with.
Well, we want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments if you're on YouTube, or you can leave a little comment on our Spotify if you're there. Let us know what you think. Do you think it's all science, if it's all explained by science, or is there a little hint of something that we just don't quite understand yet? So we have 3 more stories. Now I've got a happy story and 2 scary stories. How do you want them? You want happy first, happy last, happy
No.
in the middle?
Just do happy, scary, scary.
Here's our happy story. A woman was drifting off to sleep after a long day of mourning her recently deceased father. She was exhausted from crying and very upset at having lost someone so close to her. That is when she noticed a blinding white light filling her room. She attempted to rise in her bed to see where the light could possibly have been coming from, but she couldn't move. No matter how hard she tried, her body was stuck to her sheets. She was looking around the room, her eyes being the only part of her body capable of motion, when she spots a tall figure emanating the white light in front of her bed. She couldn't make out any features, and she didn't feel threatened, but she was beginning to worry. The figure attempted to speak to her, and though she didn't hear what it said with her ears exactly, she could sense the message of everything will be okay. She was suddenly able to sit up in her bed, but by the time she realized that she could move again, the bright light and figure was gone.
Aw, that's sweet, but also like, I still don't like it.
It's a comforting one. That's more like angelic to me.
I guess, but like she couldn't move. I don't like that. I mean, I can get how you say like, oh, like happy, sweet, but still, I'm not a fan.
It was the happiest one I could find.
Sure, I'll take it then.
My mind woke up and my entire body, including my face, was under the covers and unable to move. I couldn't see a thing. I worried for a brief moment when I discovered I couldn't move at all. Then, things got scarier. I felt an enormous amount of pressure on my chest. I had this feeling as though a spirit had its face only inches away from mine. If it wasn't enough, I heard audible whispers in both ears and pounding on the wall adjacent to the bed. I began to cry because that's all I could physically do, and in my mind, I was screaming as loud as I could, but nothing came out. I began to struggle, but I finally burst awake, sat up immediately, still crying. The room was silent.
You said banging on the wall?
Banging on the wall. So she was completely covered up.
I don't like, that's what freaked me out when you said like her face and her head and everything.
Covered up completely, couldn't move, but could just feel like someone was just a few inches away from her face. You know that feeling you get when someone's like there?
No. What do you mean? Like,
that one
if someone's in the room?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. See, but like, to me, I get that feeling all the time because I'm just scared. It's always just because I'm scared. I'm just paranoid. Yeah. I don't ever really feel like, if I turn over, like someone's gonna be in the bed with me. Like, I don't like the audible, like we said. Hearing it?
Well, this next one has some auditory hallucinations as well. I've had many experiences of sleep paralysis, but the worst one was while I was laying on my side with my back to the door, and it felt like someone got into bed behind me under the covers and put their arm around my waist. Then it felt like they were cuddling into me, and I could feel breath on my neck. It felt like they cuddled me for about half an hour. All this time, I'm trying not to show that I'm panicking because it feels like I'm getting cuddled by a skeleton with claws. I nearly had a heart attack when this thing feels like it's moving in closer to kiss me behind the ear. Worst of all, it whispered, "Not yet. You're not ready yet. I'll come back when you are." To me, it sounded disappointed and excited.
What?
It felt like it was silently telling me that it was coming back when I was about to die.
What? That's it?
That's it. That was the scariest one for me, honestly. That's why I saved it for last. Unsettling. To the highest degree.
30 minutes?
Of just feeling this terror, yeah.
I feel like I'm about to cry. That like
You
scared
look like
me
you're
really
about to cry.
bad. Like that's one of those ones where I don't even have
words.
I don't have words. I just feel like I'm gonna puke.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, this is where we leave you. Any final thoughts? No? On sleep paralysis in general?
I choose to believe science.
Okay.
Because if I
don't
jump on this train and say, oh, it's all ghosts and demons, I will not survive.
Okay.
The night.
For the sake of Natalie, it's science. But we all know the truth.
No.
But we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us rant on about our fears, our endless amount of fears. Don't forget.
Every time we have an episode, it's like, this is one of Natalie's special fears. And it's like every other episode, I'm like, I think about this every day.
But you do.
I do.
That's the problem.
I'm always frightened.
Don't forget to rate and review if you're listening on podcast, and like, comment, subscribe, everything on YouTube if you're listening over there. We'd love to hear what you think. Share this video if you feel compelled to do so, and follow us on Instagram at Ghosteas Pod. Keep up with what we're doing over there. If you have a creepy or supernatural encounter of your own, especially if it's a sleep paralysis one, send it our way via email at ghostiespod@gmail.com. We'd love to read it, especially on an upcoming episode. We are so excited to be going on this adventure with you guys, and we will see you next Monday. Bye.
Goodbye.